We're going to answer these questions tonight. And we're going after something very particular because there's a general perspective of now teens and parents. And what is that struggle between the parent and the teen? And how is this being constructed? And mainly, what can the parent do to shift their behavior? There's their behavioral shifts that allow them to gain that respect in the moment when you are being ignored, when you are in the moment when you don't feel like you're being listened to, in the moment when you feel that disrespect. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. And we're going to answer some of these questions through these 5 behavioral shifts. And I think the most important thing to understand here is, what is respect? Respect is the value that we give to something. So if let's say if I'm listening to you, but at the same time, I'm on my phone. What I'm saying to you indirectly is the way I listen to you is the way I value you. So it's how much respect I'm willing to give you. And I think that is the key here. Respect is something that when we value something, we respect it. So if I give you 50% of my attention and I'm on my phone, that means your value is at 50% to me. So I think that's extremely important for us to understand first. What is respect? Respect at the base level is about value. How much do we value something? So now, let's go through these 5 steps. Let's go through what they are. And how can you show up differently when someone ignores you, when someone disrespects you, when someone says something that doesn't fit right and you feel devalued? We're going to go through that. So the first step, there are 5 of them. The first step is stop chasing their approval. And I think here, the more you chase someone's approval, the more they won't respect you. And I think that is something extremely important to understand, because if let's say if you're a parent, if your children don't respect you, don't demand respect. Instead, stop acting like as you need that respect, or as someone who's chasing that respect. That is something that's extremely important. Why? Because it's when you're showing up with this energy that I'm in need, I need validation, I need affection, I need attention, that can really hinder your respect. So the way you show up emotionally is extremely important. And if you set the boundary, setting the boundary in terms of these kinds of things becomes extremely important. And this is something I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But you have to be able to respect yourself, meaning value yourself. And they will start to treat you differently. If you come to this point that if you show up differently and you set that small little boundary and you say something like, hey, you don't have to listen to me. If I say something, you don't have to listen to me, but you have to respect me. There's certain things that you can draw on these kinds of things and make sure that you set these things up properly. So now, I think here, these kinds of things become extremely important when we set these things up and we go to the next level. Now, what does psychology say in some of the research in terms of this particular point, the first point? And it shows that people who feel somewhat, if they're trying too hard to influence the other person, what psychology says is then they look almost like desperate, and that desperation for approval diminishes like their authority. And I think this is extremely important point for us to understand, that you don't want to diminish your authority by being a little too clingy, by needing that approval, by needing that attention. And we'll talk about emotional dependency a little bit later in terms of respect. I think that's the third one that we have. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, don't be a slave to anyone other than Allah Azza wa Jal. And I think this is extremely important to understand. Why? Because He created you free. Allah created you free. So if you are free, don't seek anyone's approval. Don't, and especially as a parent, because we're longing to kind of get their approval. Like we want to bring them closer, but we don't know how to do it. And I think that's extremely dangerous. So you got to be very careful here and stop chasing approval. You have to be able to do that. And if we learn that chasing approval starts to diminish our own respect, then you got to show up differently. That's number one. Number two, okay, what happens when you walk into, let's say, someone who disrespects you? And let's say you're a parent and you're treating your teen in a very respectful way, but they're not treating you in that way. And good? Okay. All right. So they're treating you incorrectly, let's say. But at the end of the day, what needs to happen here is something very, very important, because when you show up and then the person disrespects you, the first thing you want to go towards is arguing. And argument is not the best thing here, because what that's going to do is it's going to start to when they ignore your opinion, when they and your instincts is to do what? Argue, because you're going to feel that pain come into your heart. So, but arguing never solves anything. So what you need to do is hold back, listen and stop chasing the respect with words. Show up with your presence. And what that means is be a demonstration of respect. So if a person disrespects you, don't lash out. Step back. Say, like, listen, I'm not going to argue with you. If you choose to go down this route, I'm not going to follow you. And there's something you need to know. I don't want to emotionally respond to you. So if you continue going down this line, I'm just going to walk away. And I will come back. Okay, when you're ready to talk in a different way, I will be present. I'm okay. I'm not going to let this go any further. If you show up this way, you're showing that if you want to disrespect me, I'm not going to disrespect myself with you disrespecting me. I think that's a very important thing to understand. And self-respect is carried. You don't need anyone to respect you if you respect yourself, because you're saying to that person, stop right here. I'm not going to argue with you. The second you give me, I walk into your presence and you give me rejective energy, you just reject me, I could feel it from you. I could feel that energy from you. What you want to do is step back. I'm not going to argue with you, because that's the first instinct, is to go towards argument when we feel that injection of disrespect or our opinion is not valid to them. They ignore our advice. All these things matter because it's going to hurt. Then you're going to feel insignificant some way, somehow. They're going to make you feel like that. So what you need to do is make sure, don't be desperate for their approval. Do not do that. That is something, as we talked about earlier, don't seek approval. Show them that what respect really looks like. And then when they ignore your opinion and you have that instinct, okay, that I want to argue, what does psychology say? What does psychology tell you to do? Okay, arguing triggers the brain's threat system, and it's the response. So what does that do? And it shuts down the learning centers of the brain. It shuts down learning. So it's when you do that, that person now has put you in your sympathetic nervous system, that part of your brain that's going to trigger, that's going to shut off almost 90% of your cognition. So you don't want to go there, because arguing never gets you to where you need to go. And that person now is triggering you. And the more they see that they can affect you, the more they're going to disrespect you. Because the next time they're going to look at you like, you always get angry. You're the one that has the problem. You're the one that has, I can't talk to you. They're the one they are wrong, but their disrespect is not allowing you to get to your story because of your anger. So don't allow that to happen. Don't have yourself trigger in that way. And do not like dispute with others in a way that make you seem arrogant, because that person is going to start to look at you that way. And that's what Imam Ali alayhi salam tells you. So don't argue with someone, or do not dispute with someone that will make you, that dispute will make you look like you're arrogant. Imam Ali alayhi salam, this is beautiful in terms of that side of not going towards argument. So be very careful in terms of how you look at this and what you do here, because it's extremely important. So number 3, and I think this is where we get to really how you show up. So we said number 1 is don't seek their approval. That's number 1. So if you're a parent and your child is disrespecting you, number 1, don't seek their approval. Number 2, when they disrespect you, do not argue. Number 3, make them feel like they are emotionally, make them feel like you're emotionally independent, and you have to create that emotional independency, which is extremely, extremely important. And children don't respect people who are emotionally independent themselves. So when they see you as someone who's emotionally dependent, what happens here is something very, very important. And you got to understand, when this thing begins to work in that way, don't rely on their validation, affection, attention. It will make you feel like, it will make you feel like to them, like you're a burden. And I think this is extremely, extremely important, guys, for us to understand, because you have to withdraw your emotional dependency on your children. And what that means is they have to see you with strength, that you're holding on to your own self-respect. And the more you chase their love, the less freely they're going to be able to give it to you. So you need to understand, if you're seeking that closeness, the more you chase that, the more you do for them, and you're going to see what that means later on. The more you do for them, and you give them a sense of entitlement where they can sit on the chair whenever they please, that's not the right way to do things. And I'm not saying to be completely harsh in your approach, but what I'm saying here is the more you chase their love, the less freely they're willing to give it. I think that is extremely important to understand. So here, I think what is one of the most important things that out of this whole presentation is emotional enrichment leads emotional, let's say, when you're emotionally dependent, this can make the other person feel like they're burdened by your emotions, and that actually can lead to resentment. And this is what modern psychology, especially in adolescent years and development, this is what modern psychology says. So you got to be able to understand that excessive love, excessive chase, excessive care and attention, helicopter moms and helicopter dads. Again, I'm not saying this is a bad term, good term. I'm saying if anything done in excess can be harmful. So Imam Ali alayhi salam, excessive love, he says, brings about ruin. So Imam Ali alayhi salam warns us on this, that don't be emotionally dependent. Don't be emotionally dependent on your children, because they're going to make you feel it. Because it's almost like it flips. They become emotionally independent and you become emotionally dependent on the child. And I think that is something that's extremely important to understand. So I think this here will give us a good understanding how to show up to a conversation. And I think one of the most important things as we go through this Don't chase approval. Don't argue. Withdraw from emotional dependency. I'm not saying not to give love. I'm saying not to be dependent, emotionally dependent on someone else's care, love, or attention. And the most important thing here as you move through this is this next key point, which is when you start to understand that setting boundaries is the key, which is number 4, okay? Setting boundaries doesn't mean that I withdraw and cut you off and cut off my child. That's not what it means. It means that here's the line, and you have to understand here's where you cannot cross. Because the second you cross this line, there's going to be consequences to your actions. Don't cross this. You don't need to. I don't want to go there with you. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to let you pass this boundary. And it's extremely important to because children need boundaries. They need parameters. They need to be guided. And if you don't set those parameters, and I'm talking of obviously the correct parameters, I'm not talking about incorrect parameters, okay? And because the next step, what's going to happen is if you don't set those boundaries, you're going to get a sense of entitlement. And you'll see what happens in terms of the next step. So all this builds on each other. All these steps, all these 5 steps, they build on each other. So if you show up and you're not seeking their approval, and they can feel that from you, they could feel it. And then you have your own life, you're doing certain things that you're outside of them. Hey, I want to be here for you. I don't need you emotionally. I have affection for you. I'm more than willing to give it to you. And I want to give it to you. But there needs to be what? A two-way highway. I'm not going to I'm going to give you unconditional love, no problem. Underneath, I love you dearly. But at the end of the day, there's a conduct that needs to happen as well. And I'm not going to remove my love. It's unconditional. But at the end of the day, there's actions I disapprove of. So setting boundaries is extremely important. And the biggest reason children lose respect is their parents do not set the boundaries. That's one of the biggest reasons. And they have to know where the lines are. So here, I think I'm trying to remember the term, authoritative. Yeah, authoritative parenting, and not authoritarian. That's different. Authoritative is they set the lines. They're open with you, but they're authoritative. They let you know what that is. There's different parenting styles. Looking into that. I'm not going to get into that right now, but they promote the most respect and healthy behavior. Why? Because you have an authority figure. They're guiding you. They're giving you that. They're not burdening you. They give you within the parameters, full-fledged autonomy within the parameters. And I think that is extremely important because, do not take people to the extent that you take people lightly. Don't be so weak, Imam Ali alayhi salam, or do not be the person who does not set the barriers so people will take you lightly. Don't do that. And he says, don't be lean, you may be squeezed, and don't be harsh, you might break. You may become brittle and break. So it's extremely important to understand the way we're supposed to conduct ourselves and have this situational awareness to what we're trying to do when we're applying these things. Now, that's number 4. So the first one, okay, show up and don't seek their approval. I have my own life. I'm doing my own things. If you like this, great. If you don't like it, great, no problem. I'm not seeking your approval. Number 2, if you get disrespected as a parent, don't argue. It never solves anything. Do not argue. And then from there, if you show up, you're not seeking approval. If you get disrespected, you're not going to argue back. And then you show that you're emotionally not dependent on this situation or condition or anything that's going to happen next. If you show that, now you're in the driver's seat because you're showing up with self-respect and you're not going to allow someone to disrespect you. And I think this is extremely important. And the reason why we seek our children's approval is because we're afraid to lose them. We're trying to help them, hold them, cuddle them. That's fine, no problem. But the next step tells you, you need to show up and you need to set that boundary because they need it more than you. Trust me, as much as you need it, they also need it. They need that boundary. They need to know, okay, I'm being guided. And obviously healthy boundaries. We're not talking about unhealthy boundaries, okay? So here you start to take this, you show up, you're not seeking approval, you get disrespected, you don't argue, you show that you're emotionally independent, and then you set the boundary if you are being disrespected. And then what happens here is something very, very powerful because it's the most beautiful thing, I think, when you start to understand the full formula, is you stop giving if there's no sense of appreciation. When a person gives, it should be received with appreciation, not entitlement. This is the key. So when you give and you don't feel that respect and that responsiveness that they need to have, and they feel like they're actually entitled to this, this is where you have to hit the brakes. And you need to see how you need to manage your own behavior here. So when you show up and you do all the 4 steps, this last one is extremely important. So the person who is giving should give without wanting anything in return. And the person who's receiving should receive with a deep sense of appreciation, gratitude, not entitlement. This is a key point to understand. So if I come give you $1,000 phone, I come give you a beautiful house. Let's say you're my kid and I buy you a house, or I buy you a car. And you're like, that is how you're spoiling someone. That is how you're ruining someone. So that means that person is not emotionally mature enough to understand the value of things. And who set that up? You have. So you need to understand, when you get to that point, you need to stop. When you're giving, you need to stop giving when it's not met with gratitude, when it's not met with something that should be, you as a person is not seeking that person's approval in terms of, I need their appreciation. No, that's not what we're saying. You as a giver, like I said, should be giving without wanting anything in return. It's you teaching that lesson that you need to show up when someone gives you something. You need to show up with gratitude, thanks. You need to show up with a sense of kindness, appreciation. That means you understand the value of exchange. And when someone smiles in your face even, you have gratitude. I was watching this video the other day, and this person walks up to this other person, he's a younger kid, and he's in a third world country and he's selling bananas. And this kid, this man is obviously, he has money. So he says, I want the whole tray. And then what he does, he buys the whole tray from him and he takes the tray of bananas and starts to pass it out to everyone around him. And it was a beautiful video. Why? Because when the man came to the boy that was selling the bananas and he gave him the money, the little boy went down on one knee and grabbed him. This is heartbreaking. You know why? Because it's the utmost level of appreciation. When we begin to appreciate at this level and we become humble, we start to see life differently. Because when gratitude hits your heart, you are emotionally rich. And if it's not there, you are emotionally impoverished. That is life. That is the core of life. When you can feel these emotions, you have gotten to a point that you truly understand life. So when that kid got down on one knee and just grabbed and hugged the man, this is a symbol of humanity, of how we should be reacting. Not, this is money, this is not enough. Or what are you doing? Imagine me met that you punish kindness, you punish compassion, you punish someone who's doing something that is good for you. You punish that. You punish good behavior. Watch how far that gets you. So what we need to do as parents is respect our children. We need to do that. No one's saying no. But at the end of the day, you need to do this and take this formula into consideration. Number one, when you walk into someone's presence, walk in to their presence and don't seek their approval. I'm not seeking your approval. Don't seek your child's approval. Don't be chasing their love. And then from there, if they disrespect you, don't argue. It doesn't work. Respect yourself enough to show up with your own self-respect. And if you have to walk away, and tell them, I'm going to walk away and I'm going to come back, but I'm not going to argue with you. Show up with a demonstration of self-respect. Then from there, when you do that, be emotionally independent. Do not be reliant on seeking their validation, attention, affection in any which way. Be emotionally independent. And when you hold on to that energy in your heart, very powerful, because that needs to the next level, that if they cross the boundary of disrespect, you will set that boundary. That's the fourth step. If you show up like that, that will lead you to the last level, which is if I give you, I'm going to hold you to gratitude. And if you don't give it to me, no problem. I'm not seeking this for me. I'm seeking to teach you how to feel when someone actually gives you something. And this takes you to the epitome of human health. If you want to have a healthy psychology, a healthy emotional state, healthy mental health, okay? Have gratitude in your heart. And then when Allah Azza wa Jal gives you, you appreciate it. You're indebted. You're someone who submits to when Allah raises the sun every day on every sinner. That is giving. You start to see the ultimate giver. You start to appreciate the smallest little things. That when I was a child, I grew up in a war-torn country, and I remember when there were times we didn't have food, and my parents would not eat, and they would have us eat. And I think here is when you get to start to see the sense of what it feels to have need, to be in need. You always want that. You always want to feel like you're in need. And when you do that, you understand dependency. And if you understand dependency, you understand humbleness. And when you are humble, gratitude is what's really in your heart. So when you have gratitude, you've connected to the ultimate feeling of human existence, which is emotional richness. That's what you need in terms of showing up, in terms of boundaries, and stop chasing anyone's approval. Be emotionally independent and allow yourself to feel that sense of worth, which is ultimately a sense of self-respect. So with that, guys, I just want to say these things are extremely important to me in the way I do the research to make sure that we have what it takes when we're putting out this information. So please leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, somewhere that allows us to know how we are doing. Give us some feedback. We greatly appreciate it. I'm not sure if there's any questions. If there isn't, it's great. We'll go to the next week. But at the end of the day, take care of each other, respect each other, and especially, there's something in Islam. It says, "Iqaq al-walidain wa birru al-walidain," is be disobedient to parents and to be what? Obedient to parents. Look those terms up. Okay, look at what those things mean and how dearly Allah connects parents to Himself. Okay, and I'll leave you with this verse. It says in the Quran, it says, "Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وحملته أمه وهنا على وهن وفصاله في عامين أن اشكر لي ولوالديك إلي المصير." Allah says, give thanks to me, to Allah Azza wa Jal. And the next thing, He says, your parents. Parents are extremely important. And I'm not saying all parents are perfect. That's not what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, we have to maintain simple respect. Take care of each other, and I'll see you guys next time.